Hi guys, it's me, Tammy. I want to apologize. I realized just a few days ago that I have not created any videos lately giving you guys updates of what's going on, and I am really sorry for that. I had some technical issues and I put other things in front of, well, I guess other things were more of a priority than my technical issues that I needed to take care of to be able to create content. And I only about a week ago decided that I needed to get those things taken care of. So I'm very sorry, and now that they are taken care of, I am here to give you all an update of what's going on with me. I think the last time we talked, I told you that I was doing my oral chemo. And if you don't know, I did start Taxotere, which is an oral chemo. I was doing it every 3 weeks, and my first 2 treatments were really difficult because both of them I ended up in the hospital. The first one, I was basically chemo sick for about a week, and then it got like weird symptoms that weren't supposed to go along with my chemo, and I ended up calling my doctor, and he told me that I needed to go to the hospital. And it turned out I had not only chemo sickness, I had the virus that was going around, and it really hit me and took me down, that it kept me in the hospital for about 7 days. And then about 3 days later I got out and I had my next round of chemo. Again, I had chemo sickness, but this time decided I was not going to get sick. And I went out of my way to wear masks, wash my hands, not be around anybody sick, not give anybody hugs, not go anywhere I didn't need to go. But that didn't matter. I still ended up sick. And I ended up in the hospital with a double pneumonia. I had fluid in my lungs, around my lungs, and I was not in good shape. I think I was in the hospital for maybe 10 days, I think. So my third round of treatment, which was probably 4 days later, I got chemo sick, and I said, you know what? I was going out of my way to not get sick. This time, I'm going to try, but I'm not going to go crazy over it. And I'm glad I had that mindset, because 2 of my kids ended up getting sick, and I had to take care of them while I was having my chemo sickness. So I was around sick kids. I did wear my mask. I did wash my hands, but I didn't go crazy. And somehow I did not get sick. Yay! I was able to be a mommy and take care of my kids, which I fear I haven't been able to do lately. And it really did feel good. So my my 4th round came, and up till this point, I had typical chemo issues, but I also was having more problems with neuropathy, which is something that this chemo is definitely known for doing. And I had neuropathy with my other treatments, but it kind of got under control with medicines. But once I started this round again, my neuropathy had gotten so bad that when I was trying to make some spaghetti for my kids, and you kind of break it because it's too long to go in the pot, so I was trying to break it, but my neuropathy was so bad that I couldn't hold it and break it. And so I had asked my son to help me, and then there were times where my feet hurt so bad with neuropathy, I couldn't even walk on them. They just were, I had to wear slippers, thinking that a little bit of extra padding would help with the pain, but it was just too much. It was getting worse and worse and worse. And I was telling my, at my doctor's appointments after my chemo, I would see my nurse practitioner, and I would tell her, and she knew that I've already been on medicines that didn't work and gave me weird side effects that are, medicines that are for neuropathy. So she was trying to give me other ideas of what to do, like chew on some ice chips or some frozen treats while I'm having chemo, which I tried. However, it's kind of hard when the pre-meds kind of knock me out. So I was only able to do it for like the first 10 minutes of my chemo for 2 rounds. And then I was, completely asleep. So it didn't really do anything for me. And then the other thing that I had for my other treatment, because I had lymph nodes removed, I got lymphedema. Now, I did a video on lymphedema, so if you're not familiar with what that is, you can go ahead and watch the videos, but one thing that it does is it causes lymph fluid to build up in your extremities. And for me, it's like my left side of my body and my left arm. And so, as you can see, I have a very large arm, one very large arm, and even like my hands are much bigger. They almost look like they're different people's hands. And they're so swollen here, and I can barely, I can go like that and, like that, but they're so swollen that I can't even make a tight fist. And even typing the past few days has been very difficult because I can barely move my hands, and it's so swollen and so painful. And right here, like if I put my arm down, or if I even hold or lean on something, I can have a giant crease in my hand, and it'll stay there for a while. See, it's still there, and that's only holding my fingers there for a few moments. It's quite embarrassing, especially if I'm like leaning on something on the ledge, and it can just like be there and be indented pretty deeply and stay there for like 5 minutes. And I was in lymphedema therapy, and I had a sleeve made back years ago when I was first diagnosed with breast cancer. But it got under control, and I only wore it every once in a while, and only had mild issues up until I had radiation again a few months ago. The radiation kind of kicked it, made me have another episode of it, and then with my treatment, every treatment made it worse and worse and worse for my chemo this time. So these are the 2 things, besides my platelets getting low and getting sick, these are the 2 things that have been very difficult for me, that I would tell my doctor or my nurse practitioner every time I went to see her after my treatment. She did give me a prescription to have another sleeve made and have the lymphedema therapy start up again. However, the day I was supposed to have it, it ended up snowing, so we had to reschedule, and that's not scheduled. She's actually going to call me back tomorrow to reschedule, so hopefully I'll get that sometime this week or next week. But I just saw the lead oncologist, Dr. Riley, one time after my first time out of the hospital. But since then, I had been seeing my nurse practitioner. And like I said, she's been giving me some ideas, but nothing for the treatment of the neuropathy and the lymphedema, but nothing really has helped. And past type of medicines like garboplatin, or there's different types of medicines that are given to people to help with neuropathy. I have weird symptoms and side effects every time I take them, and they never seem to help at all with my neuropathy. So they don't seem to be an option for me. And we kind of knew that this was going to happen because this is what these type of chemotherapies are known to do. So this time when I saw my doctor, it was the head oncologist, Dr. Riley, and he hadn't seen me for a few weeks, so we kind of sat there and quickly read over the notes, and then he asked me how I was doing, and I mentioned my arm. He's like, I can see, I've never seen it that swollen before. I'm like, yeah, I know, it's really bad. And then we talked about the neuropathy, and he said, you know what? He said, I knew this was going to happen, but I was hoping we'd have more time. He basically said that he was hoping that I would get to maybe treatment 8 or 9 before this happened, and I only did 4. And I just finished my 4th one, like 2 days before, and he goes, there is one more medication I was thinking about putting you on, and it's an oral chemo, and it's really known to help people who have triple negative breast cancer. And I'm like thinking, he's not talking about the one I was already on, is he? And then he said the name. I'm like, is that also known as, and I said another name that it's known as. And he's like, yeah, you've heard of it? And I said, you had me on that in August and September. And he goes, oh, I did? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, how did you react to it? And I'm like, there was no reaction. My cancer kept growing. And he goes, man. And he stopped, and he started like looking at his phone. And then he went on the computer, and then he sat there like scratching his head and kind of shaking his head. And I'm like, is the computer giving you problems or something? Because usually he sits there like frustrated with his computer because he's trying to get to do something, and it just sits there and doesn't do what it's supposed to do. So that's what I usually said. And he said, no, actually, he goes, I'm trying to figure out what we're going to do with you. I'm like, what? And I'm like, okay. And he goes, you know, I didn't realize you had already been on that treatment, and there's not much out there for triple negative cancers, and everything that there is, you've either been on, or it is too similar of a treatment to the kind you're on now that, you know, I can't put you on them. He goes, but I can't keep you on this medicine. I have to stop you. I can't let you continue on it, or the symptoms that you're having will become permanent. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, you already have pretty bad neuropathy. I can't let you continue with this chemo. We need to start you on something else. He said, but the problem is, I don't know anything else to put you on. And I'm like, okay. He's like, you know, now they're trying immunotherapies for triple negative breast cancer in some trials, but we already know you've been on them, and your cancer grew while you were on them. And I'm like, yeah. So he goes, so I'm trying to look and think of what to do, and it's just, I'm going to have to call my colleagues in other hospitals and start looking into trials now. So I'm like, okay. He's like, so we're going to set up a PET scan for you. I want you to continue to go and do the lymphedema specialist, see the lymphedema specialist, and get a sleeve and try to get some, you know, management of that. And in the meantime, I'll be talking to my colleagues and getting second opinions, because maybe there's something out there I'm not familiar with, or maybe there's a trial that, you know, will work for you. So anyway, that was about a week and a half ago, and I have energy now because I'm starting to feel a little bit like myself after not being on treatment. Don't get me wrong, I'm not feeling great, but I mean, it's a little frustrating because now it's down to just trials, and a lot of the trials that are out there I may not qualify for because of my other cancer and because of things I've already been on, but we'll see. So I was supposed to have my PET scan the day of the snow last week, but that ended up being canceled. So I had that rescheduled for this coming Monday. Today is Tuesday night, so it's about a week away. And I have my lymphedema specialist is going to be calling me back to reschedule, so we'll find out that tomorrow. Yeah, that's basically my update. It's a little frustrating and scary to know that I'm now at the point where I have no other options. If there's no trial trials that I qualify for, I'm thinking to myself, maybe I'll tell them to put me back on the treatment if, in fact, the treatment was working. Because we won't be able to know if the treatment was actually working till I get the results back from my PET scan. And if it shows that it was keeping it from growing or it shrunk it, which would be awesome, and there's no other treatments or trials for me, in my head I'm thinking, well, what's better, dying or having lymphedema and neuropathy but still being on treatment for a cancer, and keeping the cancer away or killing the cancer, giving me more time. I don't know. I don't know. You know, I want to be here for my kids, and it's always a thought in my head of what happens, what's going to happen. So just pray that there is a trial. I mean, when I was on the treatment for melanoma, they gave me weeks to live. They didn't think that the medicine they gave me was going to work, and it did for 2 years. So, you know, I do have hope because I continue to remember that. But I also know a lot of people who were triple negative, and they're no longer with us. So, yeah. Also, I do have another prayer request about my son. He has had issues with his heart, and he has decided to, he was put on medication, and the medication, he was still having problems on the medication. So he decided to have a heart procedure, and that is set for spring break in April. So just pray that that goes well, and pray that the anxiety isn't too bad for him or for me, as we are coming up to the date. Yeah, so there's been a lot of scary things that have to do with hearts and my family, and heart disease and heart attacks and people passing from heart problems in my son's family from his father. So he's kind of scared, and I don't blame him, but I do know he is strong and he's brave. And I've been told that this surgery, when it comes to heart procedures, it's one of the easier ones, one of the least invasive. So just pray that everything goes well there too. And of course, as always, pray for my kids and how they're handling this, and our finances. So, yeah. All right, well, I'll talk to you guys later when I have more information, probably next week after I get my PET scan, okay? Or I'll probably get my PET scan and then talk to the doctor, because I don't think he really has anything to talk to me about until we actually get the PET scan results. So I'll probably I might record that. We'll see. All right. Talk to you guys later. Thanks for everything. And if you are not subscribed, please subscribe, and check out my other, I'm on Instagram and Facebook, so catch me there, and all the information is down in my description. All right? Talk to you guys later. Bye.